Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, the HOD of the PSP, and welcome to the episode 74 of the show. Like, share, comment on the video version, subscribe to the channel, and enable notifications to receive all the updates. Follow us on social media. I'm at PSP on Twitter, Pitchsidepod on Instagram, and you can listen to this on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform. Join us for more, and you're welcome. It's Friday, so you know what that means. It is the preview of the weekend as usual, but not before going and making some quick hits, of course. And those quick hits are exclusively the Europa League highlights from yesterday. 16 matches were played in the round of 32, and we're going to go through them pretty quickly and try and see the bigger picture and the biggest results that happened yesterday. Dynamo Kiev drawn against Club Brugge 1-1. Braga lost at home. A 10-man Braga lost at home to Ice Roma 2-0. Edin Dzeko opened the scoring in the 5th minute, and in the 86th, Borja Mayoral, former Real Madrid mate, scoring the second goal. AC Milan managed a 2-2 draw against Red Star Belgrade. They were leading. They were trailing behind, in fact, from a penalty from Kanga. To Hernandez equalised from a penalty as well. Then, of course, Pavkov managed the second goal for Red Star Belgrade after the own goal from Pankov, the same guy, of course, making it 1-0 for AC Milan. Krasnodar defeated against Dinamo Zagreb 3-2 at home. Olympiacos Piraeus defeats PSV 4-2. The biggest result, I think, of the lot was Man United defeating Real Sociedad away from home 4-0, an important victory for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer boys Bruno Fernandes with 2 goals on the day and no penalties, most importantly than that. Marcus Rashford and Daniel James made it 4. Amado Diallo made his debut for the club in the 83rd minute. He played 7 minutes in that game. The United fans, I think, would be really happy with that one. Slavia Praga forced a goalless draw from Leicester, or Leicester forced a goalless draw from Slavia Praga, a game where the home side were the better side, pretty much dominating, but they couldn't quite finish. Wolfsburg managed to succumb to a 4-1 loss against Tottenham. Heung-min Son and Gareth Bale were the stars of the show, really. Gareth Bale with a goal and an assist to his name. Son Heung-min with a goal in the 30th minute. And Lucas Moura with the third goal. The fourth goal was scored by Carlos Vinicius in the 83rd minute, of course. This was the game that obviously should be set up to rest some players for the weekend in the Premier League. Young Boys in a dramatic fashion defeat Bayer Leverkusen 4-3. It was 3-0 for Young Boys at halftime, and it looked like Bayer Leverkusen were off the game. 3 goals from Patrick Schick at a double, and Moussa Diaby coming from the bench to score the third, but only at the last minute, in the 89th minute, Sibachu scores the 4th goal. Tioson Sibachu for Young Boys scored the 4th goal, and, you know, this result keeps Bayer Leverkusen alive, of course, for the second leg next Thursday, and it will give them a chance to go through still. Antwerp, pretty much in the same way, but this time it goes Rangers' way. The win 4-3 for Steven Gerrard's boys. Still only 1 loss in the last 40 competitive games for Rangers. In a very, very dramatic game away from home to the Austrian side in Antwerp. Benfica drawn against Arsenal 1-1. Granada defeat Napoli 2-0. Ajax managed to defeat Lille away from home 2-1. Shakhtar Donetsk beat Maccabi Tel Aviv 2-0. Molde drawn against Hoffenheim 3-3. And Villarreal managed to defeat Red Bull Salzburg 2. All, of course, the second leg games are going to be taking place next Thursday. Now let's turn on to the proper business of this episode, and let's talk about the debut, that start from the Serie A. And we're going to be starting from the derby, of course, della Madonnina. It is the big focal point in this area this week, but certainly there are a couple of tasty fixtures as well to look forward in that one. It is going to be Fiorentina Spezia on Friday, Cagliari Torino as well on Friday, Lazio, Sampdoria, Genoa Verona, Solo Bologna, that's on Saturday, and on Sunday, of course, Parma Udinese, AC Milan versus Inter in the derby, and Atalanta, Napoli, Benevento, AS Roma as well, and Juve play on Monday against Crotone. Obviously, again, the big focus here is on the AC Milan versus Inter game. It's pretty much a title decider as it looks for both sides. No big injuries from both clubs, despite Milan potentially missing on Diaz and Jans-Peter Hauge. But, aside from that, I think Pioli has a full squad to choose from. Inter do not have these problems and have a full squad to choose from. And it's a different derby. It feels pretty different to the last, 8, 9, 10 years where the Derby della Madonnina has been played, where it felt like this is, as useless of a derby it felt, really, and I'm sorry for that, and I know how important this derby is, and I love it. I mean, I really rate it that highly amongst the word derbies, but I think in the last decade or so, its value fell off horribly because of the incompetence of both sides since 2010, 2011. Like, imagine, Inter Milan won the treble in 2010, AC Milan won the league in 2011, and it was downhill ever since. It was the downhill ever since for both sides. AC Milan missed European football completely in the last couple of years. Inter have been hovering in and around the Europa League, the Champions League, exiting horribly from the group stages 2 years in a row now, and it didn't really entice people to watch it, let's say. They tried almost everything. They tried to change its time. The derby was played at certain seasons. It was played in 11 a.m. and 12 a.m. just to accommodate the fact that there is Chinese investors, because it looked at certain point like European people are not interested in watching it. But I think this derby is different. It carries a lot of momentum, not just from the league, but also from the previous derby in the cup, which was, I think, it would have been hell. Like, with crowds in stadium, that derby in the cup would have been hell on earth for only Lukaku and Ibrahimovic. And imagine the crowd spewing absolute venom at them, and being all insulting and giving them the hostile environment. They play in the same stadium, but somehow it feels different when AC Milan hosts from when Inter hosts. The hostility in the environment changes really. Again, a title decider that I think, judging by the form of both clubs at the moment, it might sway. It looked like Inter. It sways Inter's way up to defeating, for example, defeating Juve in the league. It looked like the derby is swaying Inter's way, and after the loss in the cup for AC Milan, it looked that way as well. Certainly, expected them to be favourites heading into this derby, but I think now it's just a bit different of the last couple of results, the last couple of performances, the draws and being eliminated from the cup. But the win against Lazio, I think, restored good percentage of faith in me that Inter Milan enter this game as pretty much favourites. AC Milan, of course, as I mentioned earlier, drawn against Red Star Belgrade 2-2, playing pretty much not a second string players, but I think people who didn't have a chance to be starters in the Serie A a lot. Tomori started, Kalulu started, although he became quite a regular now in the Serie A. Benasser, Krunic and Meite in a three-way midfield, Rebic, Mandzukic and Castillejo, changing him in the formation to accommodate these kind of changes, Stefano Pioli. And he knows that he's going to be bringing his 18 players in that. He didn't need Ibrahimovic, although, why would you? He was out of the list, I think. You didn't need him, and why would you in a game that really didn't? Despite the fact that it was hard and the score was 2-2, and it could leave a sour taste at the end for AC Milan if they lose against them in San Siro, or somehow this game goes to extra time or to overtime with the penalties. This is going to feel sour taste, but still, you have to do what you have to do. The priority is the league at the moment. Returning to a Champions League through that, is close, I think, of a possibility for AC Milan than winning the Europa League altogether. For Inter, all the focus is going to be on them because they have nothing to lose. They have nothing to win, pretty much, aside from the league. And they also have a coach in Conte that has one of the deepest squads in Serie A. Now, with no injuries, I think, on the horizon, one of the fittest. And somehow, saying that about a squad that has the likes of Vidal and Kolarov and Young, those old players, let's be fair, but still, they are pretty fit and ready. I think the fact that they have no European football, again, always need to mention that, because some people still underestimate Inter, but I think they are favourites to win the league. Somehow. They are favourites to win the league over AC Milan, over Juventus, who I think are getting just further and further from that competition. And, let's put it like this. The perfect result for this derby for other clubs would have been a draw. Like, a draw would have given, AS Roma an incentive to get closer, Juventus to get closer with the game in hand, Napoli to get closer with the game in hand, even Atalanta and Lazio with 40 points, they could get closer with the game in hand. And Atalanta play Napoli, so imagine one of them is going to be leaping into the top 4 before Monday. So, this game sets up Inter quite nicely for the rest of the season. They need to have their strongest team going. AC Milan need to have their strongest team going. They need to manage the derby the right way this time, AC Milan. Particularly there's certain tricks and skills that AC Milan need to really, really take care of before this game, so that the scenario of the cup does not really repeat itself, or even a worse scenario where you find Inter dominating since the beginning, and you cannot really regain what is going to be lost in that game. I'm really excited for the derby. Hopefully it will be as entertaining as I expect, and again, it will be a title decider in my opinion. If AC Milan win, they keep themselves in the race. If Inter win, they're going to have a certain edge over AC Milan and over everyone, and that is going to get them just closer to the Serie A title. From the Serie A to Germany and the round 22 of the Bundesliga, it kicks off on Friday. Arminia Bielefeld hosts Wolfsburg, Köln hosts Stuttgart, Eintracht Frankfurt hosts Bayern Munich, Freiburg hosts Union Berlin, Mönchengladbach hosts Mainz, Schalke hosts Borussia Dortmund. Of course, aside from the Arminia Bielefeld-Wolfsburg game, which is on Friday, the other games are on Saturday. On Sunday, Augsburg versus Bayer Leverkusen, Hertha Berlin versus RB Leipzig, and Hoffenheim hosting Werder Bremen. There's a couple of points really in this Bundesliga weekend. I think first of all, obviously Bayern Munich. This game projecting to the Lazio game in the midweek in the Champions League. With the injuries that Bayern now have, they entered on quite the bad string of injuries. Thomas Müller, Douglas Costa, Serge Gnabry, Tanguy Kouassi, Alfred Nubel, Benjamin Pavard now added to that, and already you have Goretzka and Martinez for quarantine reasons, for COVID reasons. You don't know if they will be available or not. So I think it should be an interesting watch against Eintracht Frankfurt to see what other players are going to be used, what are the positions that are going to be filled. Obviously, you don't have Pavard. If you're going to be starting with Bouna Sarr, I'm not really convinced against a side like Eintracht Frankfurt. You're starting with Bouna Sarr. Eintracht Frankfurt are not really bad. They are on some seriously good form in the Bundesliga, and they are third in the table if you didn't know. You could lose to them easily, and you could drop points if you're not at your best. And with Bayern missing those kind of players, I don't expect them to be at their best. It's going to be quite an interesting watch and quite a hard game for Bayern Munich again. The focus is not in this game. The focus is on the game against Lazio, and you're going to be entering the game against Lazio potentially with no Pavard, no Gnabry, unless Müller is fit for the Lazio game because of the COVID, and he finishes his quarantine and does that. I think he did. I think he will be able by Monday, but I don't think Hansi Flick is going to be risking him and risking playing him in a game away from home in particular to Lazio. Also, Benjamin Pavard and the right back position is another problem. Again, I'm not convinced with Bouna Sarr. I don't see him starting. He shouldn't be starting. Play Roca and Tolisso in the midfield, or play Roca and David Alaba in the midfield, and start with Kimmich on the right, Lucas Hernandez as centre back, and just give yourself a little bit of a dynamic kind of lineup, because Kimmich is going to be moving over from the right hand side to the midfield and is going to be helping you and supporting you for sure. So Bayern Munich again need to focus on the game against Lazio and not ignore this one, because Eintracht Frankfurt, again, third, and not the worst of oppositions. They're really, really tough opposition. The second strongest attack in the Bundesliga after Bayern. That is quite a decent sort of stat to have. But one of the worst defences as well, alongside Bayern. And 29 goals conceded in the 21 preceding fixtures. So it's going to be an interesting one for Bayern. We'll see how they deal with it. Should they go full force against Eintracht Frankfurt? Should they try and exhaust themselves to get the 3 points? Or they will just try the minimum of effort to just avoid any kind of extra injuries that could happen or problems that could, be very, very deciding ahead of the game against Lazio, because the game against Lazio is, on paper, is up for grabs for Bayern and in for the taking, but unless you face a lot of injuries like Bayern have at the moment, and if your injury list keeps getting bigger before that game, you're not going to be having an easy time at the Olimpico on Wednesday. I'm assuring you that. Also on this fixture, again, interesting couple of games for Dortmund and Leipzig. Borussia Dortmund face Schalke in the derby. I think after the victory against Sevilla in the Champions League, I think they're going to be getting back to the league pretty motivated. Specifically Erling Haaland, who, apparently is motivated by Mbappe. We'll see what he does. Clearly, Dortmund now need to win, and I think against Schalke, sorry Schalke fans, sorry the viewers, but I think against this Schalke side, this should be an easy win for Dortmund. Like, seriously, this should be an easy win for Dortmund. Easy 3 points, and this should be the time of the season where they turn things around. Marco Rose is coming next season, so at least give him a good foundation, give him a Champions League spot, give him a good sort of, building, or good a foundation to build on with his project Borussia Dortmund. RB Leipzig face Hertha Berlin. I think it's a tricky encounter for Leipzig, who still somehow, it is 5 points between them and Bayern, and, it could go to 8 before that game. So RB Leipzig's only purpose in this game is going to be just keep this 5 points, keep this a 5 points gap, hope for a slip from Bayern against Frankfurt, and just wait for the rest to happen. I think the league is done, but we'll see, if we can get a pretty tense and nervy last couple of fixtures for Bayern or not. That is the only interesting thing left to talk about in the Bundesliga at the moment, really. Finishing off with La Liga, I'm going to be keeping the Premier League, on separate on Saturday. Hopefully tomorrow, I'm going to give the Premier League its full focus on the show. Let's talk about the round 24 of La Liga, with Betis hosting Getafe today on Friday, Elche Eibar on Saturday, Atletico Madrid versus Levante. We'll get to that. Valencia Celta Vigo, Valladolid versus Real Madrid, Barcelona versus Cadiz on Sunday, Real Sociedad Alaves on Sunday as well, Huesca Granada, Atletico Bilbao, Villarreal, and Osasuna Sevilla on Monday. Barcelona also have a game in hand against Elche on Wednesday in La Liga. Again, the couple of big focus points here in La Liga, obviously Atletico Madrid, and who drawn against Levante in the midweek 1-1 in the game from round 2 of La Liga. That is, apparently given some of the other clubs, in particular Real Madrid and Barcelona, to be fair, more of an incentive to play their games, and they could, they're waiting for a slip for Atletico Madrid again. Obviously, with the form that Atletico Madrid have been in, 2 draws in the last 3 games isn't exactly the best form. It's a drop in the form for Atletico. We were saying for a lot of time, quite on the show, we were saying that Atletico Madrid are close to the title. They're going to be winning. It's a matter of time. But it just might be the fact that Atletico Madrid could drop points in the final hurdle, could drop points where it hurts, where Real Madrid and Barcelona could capitalize. Maybe the next Clásico wouldn't be as useless and as inconsequential as I think it would be. But in my opinion, I'm giving Atletico Madrid the benefit of the doubt here. I'm not sure that they will drop points again against Levante, a side that just played again 3 days ago. If Levante managed to force Atletico to drop points again, salute to Levante. They will be quite the lucky side of getting points from Atletico Madrid on both home and away legs. Imagine that the only team who got full 3 points from Atletico is Real Madrid, and somehow we're not talking about Real Madrid as title favourites at the moment or contenders, despite the fact that Atletico Madrid could still drop points in the next 2 games, this game against Levante and the game in hand that they have, which I think is going to be the difference maker. If they drop points against Levante, again, this is all based on the hypothesis that they drop points against Levante, which I'm assuming they won't really. I think Atletico Madrid have a game in the Champions League against Chelsea, so we'll see how that plays out into this one. Could they go a little bit slow? Could they go second string team, trying to keep the players fit and keep as less injuries as possible, and trying to avoid any sort of unwanted fitness problems ahead of that game? We'll see how they deal with it. For Real Madrid and Barcelona, the games are quite easy, and again, this is quote unquote easy for the listeners here. Valladolid for Real Madrid away from home. Cadiz for Barcelona at home, a side that defeated them away 2-1, of course, the last time out. But Barcelona, man. Barcelona coming off that 4-1 horrific performance against PSG in the Champions League. You don't know which mood they're in. You don't know what is the morale at the club at the moment. But I think, Barcelona improved enough to beat Cadiz, but did not improve enough to beat PSG, obviously. This is going to be an easy game, I think, for them. Still, they need to bounce back. Whatever the consequences will be, they need to bounce back. It will be a bit hard in the first, maybe 20 to 30 minutes, but obviously they should get going with a goal afterwards. Ronald Koeman needs to be more flexible tactically if he wants to keep in the contention, if he wants to, have a decent end to his season, because the Champions League is done and dusted. The Cup is going to be done and dusted probably against Sevilla. There's no way that he will defeat them just 3-0 without conceding. And, they only have to finish high in the league to keep themselves in the Champions League next season. So, it's an easy fixture, and I don't think it will really, unless they make it hard for themselves, it shouldn't be hard for them. Sevilla against Osasuna on Monday as well, that's another one. For the Champions League returnees, Real Madrid, of course, playing Valladolid ahead of the Atalanta game in the Champions League. Zinedine Zidane sort of became more flexible after he got COVID. I don't know, it's a blessing in disguise apparently, but he became more tactically flexible when he got COVID. He started changing formation, playing with 3 in the back, trying to, try be a little bit more, diverse in his tactical approaches, because he's facing an Atalanta side that he won't know what he's going to be getting from them. Yes, you see the shape of Atalanta probably 3-5-2 or 3-4-1-2 or 3-4-2-1, whatever it is, but you don't know what they can offer exactly. The players move everywhere. Zapata moves in and out of the box. Muriel moves in and out of the box. Zinedine Zidane's job is to find a suitable tactical approach that deals with them and, neutralizes their danger pretty much. And the game against Valladolid, as easy as it might sound, it could be a banana skin, again, as for all the clubs that enter the Champions League. If they lose any player for injuries, if they, any problems happen, and the Real Madrid already also on a bunch of injuries as well. Dani Carvajal, Marcelo, Eder Militao, Odriozola, Sergio Ramos, of course, long-term, Rodrigo, and Federico Valverde. You don't know exactly what you're going to get from this Real Madrid side, and you will never know what you're going to get from this Real Madrid side. They've been so inconsistent this season that a string of 3 games of straight wins is considered a great form for them anyway. And we'll see, of course, again, as usual, we'll see how this pan out for them. That's it for me for this episode. I was your boy, the HOD of the PSP. Thank you for joining/listening. Follow us on social media, PSP on Twitter, Pitchsidepod on Instagram, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like, share, comment on the video, follow us on social media, and listen to this on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform. I was your boy, the HOD of the PSP. Until next time, I'll see you soon. Goodbye.